Why is it a bad idea to have kids? This subject comes up often in my life. I'm still at an age where my peers are having children, and I see people all around me having children, and I know tons of people who have had kids, and I was a kid once, and I think kids are beautiful. But I think it's a very bad idea to have kids, especially nowadays, in this modern era.
Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Proved.
In a world where it seems more and more younger people are opting out of having children, prioritizing other things, and developing ever more anxieties about the world, having kids appears to be seen by my cohort as a quaint lifestyle choice rather than a biological imperative or duty. Particularly among the college-educated, upwardly mobile millennials of my generation, having children appears to be seen rather as a burden than a blessing. While just about everyone and their grandma is out there encouraging young folks to travel the world, go to college, and work away for that middle management job in some coastal-based corporation, I'm here to extol the virtues of fatherhood. Hello, this is Mr.Patriarch, and today we're going to talk about the glories of fatherhood, why you should strive to be a parent if you consider yourself any kind of conservative, right-winger, traditionalist, Joe Average, or whatever. But before I do, please click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner of this video, like and comment if you enjoy this sort of material, and share if you think there's someone out there who might benefit from this content. For my group of childhood and university friends, I have the distinction of being the only one to have had offspring. I'm 28 years old, not very young, but my wife and I intentionally conceived and had my son, and we plan on having more children over time. I'm of the firm opinion that quality people need to have more kids in order to have a more quality world and to outbreed the degenerates, so to speak. There's a lot of reasons a man should have kids, practically speaking. This is the much less interesting aspect of having children, but is nevertheless true. For one thing, human capital is the ultimate resource, and you don't get human capital without humans. Skilled humans make societies richer, and giving birth to the next generation is obviously the first step. These are the people who will create new inventions, businesses, or create newer and better culture. Apart from that, it's future generations who pay taxes. The reason why a lot of social welfare programs across the West are in trouble, and incidentally, why so many foreign immigrants have been flooding into those countries, is because Western European birth rates have plummeted, and the native population can't afford their bloated welfare and state pension programs going into the future. As someone partial to Austrian economics, I'm definitely not a fan of these entitlement programs, but it's a fiscal reality modern progressives seem to ignore or not particularly care about. They want their pensions, but they don't want to bother with having children to sustain them. Simply having more kids would solve this problem. Also, there's the security aspect. I know no matter what happens to my bank account in the future, or if my wife and I become too frail to take care of ourselves, my son and his future siblings will be there, able and willing to look after us in our dotage. I look to my wife's departed grandmother and think how many grim, lonely, and frugal decades she'd have had to endure all by herself, in all likelihood, had she no children to take care of her. Family is the ultimate social safety net. Children raised into quality adults are necessary for the economy, necessary for those aforementioned horrible government programs, and are an invaluable source of pride, comfort, and security when you get old. That's all the boring materialist stuff out of the way, so now let's get into the much, much more important aspect of having children, and why it is a glory to be a father. Having a child gives your life inherently more meaning. Now, there are some people who forego having children to devote themselves to fanatical scientific research, Isaac Newton style, or those who are called to holy orders like St. John Chrysostom or the Apostle Paul. The sacrifice of having a family allowed these people to achieve incredible works in the spiritual or scientific realms. However, these are exceptional individuals. They aren't most people, and most people, myself included, are benefited immensely through having children. A lot of the crisis of meaning for modern young men, apart from their spiritual need to get right with the Lord, could in part be solved through having a family. The sacrifice one gives of time, hobbies, and so forth by having a child is paradoxically perhaps the thing that makes it so wonderful. Once you have a child, a good portion of your life is lived in service to others, namely your family. All the little things you do, changing diapers, holding them and walking with them when they wake up crying from a bad dream, playing with them, all of that has value. Your job, which maybe you weren't so crazy about before, is objectively more important now because it's putting food in your child's mouth, and your desire for more and better things for your children may push you to take steps you otherwise might not have taken as added motivation. You also become an important person, even if you never were important before, because to your son or daughter, you are the most critical person in the world, along with your wife. They literally need you to be happy, healthy, well-guided, and well-rounded in life. And that duty, that requirement to serve, is strangely liberating. In a similar matter that Christ commanded us to take up the cross and follow him so that we can be made more, so too with fatherhood. By willingly and knowingly taking up this burden, we're made somehow more and better than we were before, while at the same time carrying this added weight. And with the birth of a child comes the eternal spring of hope. It's impossible to be truly black-pilled and a new father. While the world around you may be going to hell in a handbasket, life, your child's life, happiness, hopes, and dreams persist and march on, just as they always have and always will. No matter what fake news CNN may be broadcasting, or whatever civil unrest is arising in the cities, or what conflict you may have to deal with, your child still commands your best. And more than that, your child still loves, still laughs, still plays, still is able to find beauty and wonder in the world, still is able to connect, still looks to you for answers, still needs your guidance, and that role can't be fulfilled if you embrace despair. Fatherhood steals your resolve and allows you to put on a brave face despite the odds. Being a father also builds community. You simply can't live in your mom's basement watching anime, ripping bongs, and whacking off to pornos in between sessions of Counter-Strike Global Offensive while listening to Gucci Mane when you're married with children. All of a sudden, getting to know your neighbors and building connections with them is important because their house is the one your kid's going to play at when they're of age. They're the ones who will help keep an eye out for your kid. Your boy or girl is going to eventually want to do other things like sports, music, or get involved with church, and that is going to lead to whole new opportunities to get you out of your bubble of self-imposed isolation. You will also begin to seriously consider your role as spiritual mentor. As the Lord is the head of the church, so too is the Father the head of the family. It is up to you to raise your children in the true faith, train them against the arguments and assault they'll encounter out there in the world. It's your duty to arm them with Scripture as a ward against degeneracy and internalize a healthy, God-fearing morality that you foster and have them respect by living it authentically, without irony or in an empty sham way. Children, like all people, recognize authenticity for what it is and will respect it, particularly as they age. The last thing I'll say, being a father makes you a fighter if you have any kind of honor. The state of the world doesn't just affect you now, it affects your wife and kids. The current global order doesn't respect traditional Western Christian values, and the secular, progressive, materialist worldview prevalent in the West is openly hostile to it. You want a better world for your kids, you'll have to fight to make it. And in doing so, you make the world better not just for your kids, but for the children all around your community. It may be impossible to effect change on the national level, but you can do a hell of a lot to make your neighborhood better, your church better, and your child's education better. Men build, and if what you want for your son or daughter doesn't exist, gather the will and build it, and seek out those of like mind to join you. Being a father is a glory. It's exciting. It's a crushing responsibility and an immense honor. There are plenty of wholesome women out there if you know where to look, and it's with these women you can build something amazing that will last beyond and transcend your short time here on earth. In an active attempt at subversion, dads are often portrayed as dopes and oafs in popular culture. But in the end, fathers have been and remain the rock on which any society is built. It's not money. It's not pleasure. It's not libertarianism. It's not abstract values. It's not getting laid by as many different women as you can. A society isn't built on individuals, it's built on families. And the discovery of this for the lost young men out there in the West may yet bring rebirth to masculinity and their sense of purpose and place in society. Well, that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It'll really be a big help. Also, you can find me now on Twitter. The link is in the description below. Tune in next time where I'll be releasing my first video on the rise of fascism and looking at different historical attempts to define what the movement was in history. I look forward to seeing you next time.